What's up, everybody? A-Sound Rider, and it is a beautiful day today, as you can probably see. Today I'm going to review the 899 Panigale and the V4. So I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible. We're going to basically go over the looks, tire sizes, kind of how it feels, and we're going to go on a ride and feel how it feels, essentially. And then after that, I'm going to go pick up the V4 and we're going to do the same thing. So we can start with the looks. This is actually a beautiful bike. I really like this one in the 1199. Obviously the 1199 has the single-sided swing arm, and then this one doesn't. But the 1199, you don't get this beautiful pearl white paint. Let's see if this will pick up. You don't get this beautiful pearl white paint. Gorgeous bike. Now, one thing that you should know about the 899s is they don't have clear coat. So you can probably tell right here, it's kind of scuffed up right there from people getting on and off. I bought this bike used. So one thing I wanted to do to this bike was get the clutch cover, you know, the clear clutch cover that everyone has on their Ducatis. Well, I found out that the 899 has, it's essentially a single clutch cover attachment, whereas the 959 has a double. So the 959 has a portion right here. It's like this part that's on top, and there's another part behind it. So you can remove the first part that's on top. Well, this one is just one altogether. This one's just one altogether, all integrated. So if you want to do a clutch cover, it's kind of a pain. So one thing to note, if you're going to get the 899 over the 959, but the looks on this compared to the 959, I prefer. You're going to get a 180 tire on the back, 180/55. Those are my lucky dice down there. The headlights are actually not like the 1199. The 1199, you have some LEDs right here that turn on. This one, let's see if I can turn it on. The daytime running lights are down there. So it doesn't look as crazy as the 1199. That's okay, we'll give it a pass because it has those red rims, which look amazing in person. So it snowed down here in Houston a couple of weeks ago, and when you put this pearl white color up against the snow, this bike turns blue. You might see it in the video today. I've seen it in other 899 videos. It's beautiful. One cool thing about this bike as well is the mirrors. They fold in. You know, that's not too much to ask, because the V4, and I think the 2025 V4s as well, they don't fold in. This exhaust sounds amazing stock as well. You get Brembo brakes. Cool, well, let's hop on it and talk about some more stuff, kind of some things you feel or notice while actually riding the bike. All right, let's see. Now, sometimes I do have trouble starting this thing up because I guess the evap system, or the charcoal box, I think is what it's called, I don't know, does something weird. And so whenever the bike's hot, a lot of people have trouble starting this thing up. But let's see. No issues today. I think that only happened to me, I'd say a couple times. I'm gonna put it in race mode. Your ABS light's gonna stay on until you go like 5 miles an hour or something like that. Also, before we really get going, I can flat foot this bike. My inseam is probably like, I don't know, 29, 30 inches, something like that. So that's one thing to look for. I think this also has a custom seat on it too. But one thing that you'll notice on this bike is it feels really thin. So this has the V2 engine. So, you know, 2 cylinders instead of the 4, so it doesn't have to be as wide. So So it feels thin. Now I will say, when you try to turn it, try to corner, it kind of fights you. It doesn't really want to lean, which I found pretty surprising, just because it feels thin, it feels smaller, but it definitely does have power. I'll show you. So this bike, it's beautiful. If you're looking for a bike that gets a whole bunch of looks and compliments wherever you go, this is definitely the bike, especially with the red rims. Every time I fill up for gas, you know, someone notices it, says something about it. The color is beautiful. I don't think anyone else really does this color. I know Kawasaki does the white with the red rims now on their ZX6R, their 636, but their paint is not like this paint. I saw, this isn't funny, but there's this guy practicing yesterday actually, I say earlier, I don't know what day it is. He was practicing yesterday, and he wrecked back there like 2 times. I was like, yo, you good? He kind of just gave me the thumbs up. But hey, practice where nobody is, you know? Better than being out there with crazy cars. Anyway, this bike is super comfortable. I mean, I've been on a couple of long rides with it. Never had any issues. You know, the tank is a perfect size for kind of just gripping with your thighs, just to kind of take the pressure off your wrist. I will say, actually, as I'm riding, the foot pegs, they're slippery. So your feet like to slide off of it. I know a lot of people like to do aftermarket things on that. But it's powerful. Like, it's an 899, and a lot of people say, oh, it just doesn't have enough power. It's powerful, and I'm saying that with the V4 sitting at home. And the power zone, you'll feel it comes on probably around like 7.5, 8, and it changes the tune of the bike. Here, you can listen. Slow down. It's just a little more forceful. I remember I had a 2006 636. Loved that bike. It was it's the second bike I ever had. Big, bulky thing. Didn't really like to lean, but I didn't know any better. I was coming from a 250R. I hopped on an R6, and that thing dove into the corners. So, but I mean, I haven't tracked this yet. I can't tell you if it'd be any different on the track. Let me slow down a little bit. But not gonna do anything too crazy. It's a school bus right there. Gotta respect the kids, the new generation. Who knows? Maybe one of them's watching this video right now. The clutch, let's talk about the clutch lever. This thing is so stiff. I mean, if you're riding this for a long time, you're just gonna get a forearm workout. It is super stiff, which is crazy because I thought that the hydraulic clutch was supposed to be smoother. Well, this definitely is not, which is okay. I mean, just go get a forearm workout. That's kind of all that is. When you actually engage the clutch, like when you go from a stop, I like this bike's engagement better. It's very, oh, this guy's trying to kill me. It's very, what's the word for it? It's just easy. Like when you let out the clutch and you give it a little bit of gas, it's just there. there. Not there immediately. Let me turn around. Alright, so another thing I'll say about this bike is the clutch engagement. It's pretty far out, but the throttle response is amazing. So when you go to pull out like this, you know exactly how much throttle to give it, because it's just responsive. And then the clutch, even though I'm talking trash about how stiff it is, I mean, you feel it when it engages. It's a little bit far out. Yeah, it's just something you have to get used to. But, I mean, you feel it whenever the guy's just trying to get run over. You feel it whenever you engage and disengage. And the bike just feels really smart, too. I have everything off. The EBC, what is that? DTC, and then the ABS I have on one. But the bike just feels very responsive. It feels raw. It feels like I'm assuming a Ducati. I mean, it feels special. The throttle response is immediate here. It's immediate. It's just there whenever you want it. So props to Ducati for that. It doesn't really just lay over into the corners, but once you kind of get it past a certain point, it's like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing. And it kind of just does its thing. So I still love it. If we're gonna compare it to the V4's power, I mean, okay, this doesn't have as much power. The V4 is just insane. But this thing is fast. And I ride just straight 1000s, you know, Japanese 1000s, usually. But I mean, this thing is fast. Here, I'll pin it here in a second. And it wants to go. But it's also really good in traffic too. Like, it doesn't mind just chilling out. Another thing about this bike is, in traffic, it doesn't, yes, okay, all the Ducatis get hot because they're they're V engines, but it actually feels really good. And I mean, not like crazy good. I'm not like cozy and sitting in bed, but it's not hot. Like, I was riding the V4 yesterday without boots on, and I had like a little 1 degree burn on my leg. I needed to be catered to. But this, I mean, we're sitting at 181 degrees right now. Just kind of chilling. Third gear going 30 miles an hour. So let me pin it again. Oh, and we'll talk about the quick shifter, but let me pin it again. The back tire broke loose. Admittedly, I need a new one. But the quick shifter is good on this. I mean, it's a 2015. There are better quick shifters out there, but I mean, it works. And this thing moves. It wants to lift up the front wheel. You just kind of have to manage the throttle, but it's more than a 600, less than a 1000. 1000s are just crazy on torque, top end torque. You know, if you're on a closed track and you're going like 120, 130 on this, you pin the throttle, you're not keeping up with a 1000, you're not keeping up with a V4, H2, R1, ZX10R, none of that. So, comes with a steering damper as well. That definitely comes in handy. I heard my first Ducati was a Monster, I think 696, didn't come with a steering damper. I don't think it did. If it did, I mean, that thing just wobbled like crazy. It felt so unstable. I didn't like Ducatis after that. I picked this one up, I'm like, man, a lot more refined, but it still has that raw feeling. And I've been riding for 11 years now, no, 12 years now. So I done rode everything, and I love the rawness of bikes. I mean, I love to feel what's going on. I don't really like riding with electronics either, but I figured since I just picked this up, I'll put ABS on one. I'll put it on one. But yeah, I mean, you know, it has a lot of different, like you have race mode, which I have it in. I think you have sports mode and wet mode. I go through all of that in another video, but you have your temperature, you can have your time. It doesn't have a fuel gauge. What can you do? But it's just fun. I mean, it's a fun, if you're dailying it, if you have a strong forearm at least, or want to build up the muscle, it's fun. I mean, it feels good. Really good. It's responsive. I haven't had any issues with it. I mean, besides the no start, but that's like you can fix that by yourself. There are a whole bunch of videos on it, but I just haven't because I don't ride it as much because I ride the V4 a lot now. And it does start, just for the record, it does start eventually. You just have to give it a little gas while you start it. But what's a Ducati without some special quirks, you know? Some things you gotta, but again, I mean, it makes you feel special. It makes you feel good. So I'm going to head home and go pick up the V4. All right, y'all, as promised, the 2024 Panigale V4. So immediately, single-sided swing arm, of course, that's what we all love. It's rocking a 200 tire as well. And then the clutch cover, this is what I was talking about. So you see the bolts right there? That's the front part that comes off that the 899 doesn't have. The 899, if you're looking at just this gold piece, the 899 has those two pieces as one. So it's just a lot more complicated to change out. You still can, but it's just a lot more work. I think you have to take some stuff from the 1199 actually, because the 1199 has a double piece. But you have your Brembos, stock exhaust as well. One thing I didn't mention on the 899 is it sounds good with the stock. This one sounds really, really good with the stock as well. But for a V2 on the 899, I mean, that thing sounds amazing. So you have your wings or winglets, and then the gills. I mean, those are just so beautiful. And then I'll turn it on so that you can see the daytime running lights. I mean, that's just clean. And it's hot, so we'll get into that. This thing gets so hot. I still kind of have the stickers on it. It is a new bike. So as I was saying before, mirrors don't move. Bummer. You have a whole bunch of electronics on this one though. And I'll go over all these electronics in another video as well. You have your show of forks. The shock's a little bit different on this one. The 899 comes down sideways. It's like right here, right there. The V4 is just right directly underneath it. You have your chain, sprocket, and then also your rotor on this side. There's your ABS right there. ABS in the front as well. I'm glad I got out here while the sun was still out, because this bike is beautiful. It's just this really, really pretty red. As you can see, I don't have the rear pegs or the rear seat on right now. It is a cleaner look, I think, but it looks really good with the pegs as well. They're all black, so, well, are they all black or mostly black? And while we're talking about the pegs, these rear sets, they grip way better than the 899.
All right, on the V4. So instantly you see the full screen, the full color TFT dash right there. It's white during the day and then it's black at night, so that's pretty cool. You can also see that she is a thickums. I am pretty much tippy-toeing. I cannot flat foot this bike. So the seat is much wider, but then the bike is just taller as well. So that's something you have to kind of take into consideration if you have shorter legs like me, or if you're just a shorter rider. Now you can get a shorter seat, a smaller seat, thinner seat essentially, and that should fix your problem because this is an amazing bike. Another cool thing that Ducati did with this bike is they did cylinder deactivation. So as you can tell, it's in neutral. Now this is a 4-cylinder bike. In neutral, it only runs on 2 cylinders, and that helps with the heat because this bike gets really hot. I know that, you know, everybody knows Ducatis get hot. The 899 gets kind of hot. This thing will burn your legs. Now, it's not a huge deal as long as you're wearing leathers and nice boots or something, but it is definitely something to think about if you're gonna take longer rides or city rides. Once you get moving, it's not as bad, but I mean, if you're stop and go traffic, you'll definitely burn your legs. Now, back to the cylinder deactivation. When it's in neutral, it's on 2 cylinders. I'll show you whenever I put it in first gear, you'll hear the other 2 cylinders activate to run on the full 4. So 4, 2, 4, 2. I'll give it a rev. That's with 2, 4. So I think that's a really neat thing that Ducati did. Does it help on heat? Not sure. It still gets really hot, but it is what it is. Let's see if the screen will turn black right here so I can show you guys. Nope. So close. I don't know where the sensor is, so. But nonetheless, another thing that I really noticed hopping back on this bike, it's just so nimble, and I mean, it's just so comfortable as well. The quick shifter, just, it feels new, right? Like it feels refined. So the quick shifter here will, I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. And just like the 899, let's go ahead and do a first gear pull. Oh gosh, hold on. I want to make sure I don't have any traffic. Let's go ahead and do a first gear pull. That came up on me a little bit. Let's see how it does in the twisties. Now I have my wheelie control off, but I have my traction control on. Tires aren't really warm, so I'm not gonna push it, but. All right, let's do another first gear pull. I was ashamed of the first one. Obviously hard to show you the full potential because I can't just give it the full beans. I mean, you cannot give it full throttle. It's gonna come up on you, especially with wheelie control off. But you kind of get to see a little bit of what it does. Another thing, so originally I was having an issue with this bike where it would stall. You know, I'd be pulling up to a light, so let's pretend I'm pulling up to a light. I would downshift, right? And then I pull in the clutch, boom, it would die. And I just got my first oil change on it, I don't know, I guess last weekend. And shout out to Ducati Panigale. They were awesome. They went ahead and, I think they took the evap system out for me, or the charcoal box. Because apparently that's a huge problem with these bikes. And now I haven't had it stall once, so this thing has been amazing for me. Now I will show you another thing that is different between this and the 899. Let's see if I can turn around. So the 899, the throttle response was immediate. There was no play at all. This, I'll show you here. See that play? So it's, and I'm sure you can tighten that up with something or a tune. I have no idea, but I know that it can be tuned out or whatever you may call it. But stock, it definitely is annoying, especially just coming from the 899 and hopping on this. It's like, okay, where's my throttle? The clutch though, the clutch is very nice. I mean, these hydraulic clutches are supposed to be lighter than the cable clutches anyway, but for some reason the 899 just wasn't. It wasn't lighter at all. It was actually really stiff, and it wasn't fun to be in traffic with that bike. Speaking of traffic and that bike, ow, oh my god, I have to rip the tank on that one. The 899, while it felt a little smaller, this definitely feels bulkier. As I said, the seat is wider. The 899 just, it felt lighter, but this feels more nimble. This feels more flickable. This feels more like you're one with the bike. Whereas, like on a corner on the 899, I was really fighting it to get it in the corner, like to get it down. And then just, I mean, laid down, wants to go to sleep. Now another thing about this bike, these mirrors are trash. And I'm a mirror guy. Maybe I'm spoiled. The 3rd gen ZX-10Rs just had some amazing mirrors. I mean, you can see everything. These, I mean, they're just, I don't know, they're too long, they shake a lot, and they don't fold, which is a huge pet peeve of mine because I really like to tuck these in to the garage. Now, daily ability, if I had to choose between, well, let's just say overall pick. Overall, if I had to choose between the 899 and the V4, I would have to go with V4 just because the power. I mean, again, the 899 is no slouch. That thing moves. And if you know how to ride it, you know how to squeeze every ounce of power out of that bike, that you can keep up, like I said, probably up until about 150, 140, 150. But this is just the all-around package. You know, it's nimble, has a lot of power, looks great. I mean, looks are subjective, right? The 899 is a beautiful bike as well, especially the spec that I have with the red rims and that beautiful white, that pearl white paint, flat paint. Gorgeous. I mean, I get a lot of compliments on mold, so again, looks are subjective, but if I were to daily it, this just feels more, like I said, refined. And you know, back in the day, you don't really buy a Ducati because it's refined. You buy it because it's a Ducati, right? But just like cars, as the years go on, they kind of have to do everything, right? Like when people are buying sports cars now, they're looking at, I wouldn't really say fuel efficiency, if you're looking at miles per gallon, but they're looking at trunk space. They're looking at you know, the Corvette Z06 has enough space in the back to fit golf clubs. That's why it's so wide in the back. So nowadays it's more about one size fits all, right? It has to make sense, especially for the price point on these bikes. And I'd say they knocked it out of the park with this one. I mean, nimble, looks great, single-sided swing arm. They definitely messed that up on the 2025s. sounds good. I mean, this is the stock exhaust. I haven't done anything to it yet, but it sounds pretty good. Feels good, it's comfortable. The seat is really hard. I'm gonna get a new seat because that's definitely, but the seating position itself is actually really nice. The clutch isn't really gonna kill your forearm. Just an all-around bike. Now I haven't tracked either one of them yet, so I can't really compare the two on that, but if I were to pick just street riding, I'd pick the V4. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know which ones you guys want to see more. Looks like y'all prefer the V4 over the 899. That's what my stats are telling me. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I reply to everybody in the comments. So feel free to reach out. Go ham in the comments. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.